Good afternoon and welcome to the Cannahub webinar. My name is Joshua Gilstrap. I am with the E2B Technologies team. We have three lovely people here today to discuss the advances we've been making in our Cannahub offering. First up, we have John Moss. He's our VP of Customer Success. Next is Lynn Hensley, our Chief Operating Officer, and myself. Lynn will be taking us out of the gate first to describe who we serve and why you may need Cannahub.
Well, hello, everyone. I apologize for the delay. It was absolutely me. I had a little technical difficulties getting into our meeting this morning, so thank you for your patience. And thanks for joining us today. I'm Lynn Hensley, as Josh said. I'm the president and COO here at E2B Technologies. E2B, here at E2B, we're a software technology company headquartered in Cleveland, Ohio, and have been for the last 35 years. In those 34 years, we have been laser focused on assisting companies like yours and other businesses with their business application software. We develop products and service offerings that optimize and automate our customers' business processes, allowing you to focus on your business growth, not data entry, not spreadsheets, and not static reports. We're excited to spend some time with you today to talk about our Cannahub offering and how it can help you. So let's talk a little bit about who we serve. We got into the cannabis space about 8 years ago. We've been doing manufacturing and distribution for all of the 34 years that we've been in business, and cannabis didn't seem all that different to us. In fact, we had several partners that had worked in the space and really opened our eyes to it, and we really thought there was some improvement that could be made. And so as such, we looked at the whole supply chain, and for us, the supply chain was basically the seed to sale. Whether you're a cultivator or a processor or a dispensary, we have an offering that can meet your needs and help maximize and improve the efficiencies in your business. And each one of these areas have their own specific drivers for their side of the business. So as an example, as a cultivator, maybe maximizing your yield or reducing waste is what's important to you. So having that data available is something you might need. But as a processor, your needs might be different. So centralizing your cultivation and your processing data in one place may actually help you increase your efficiencies and make better decisions about your operations. And then dispensaries have their own challenges. With Cannahub, you can combine vendor data and customer data, employee data, and sales data, and you can combine it in one place, giving you the ability to analyze that data in different ways that may help you drive more sales, or at least see what's impacting your sales. And all of this can happen in in whatever time frame you want to look at. And thanks, Josh. And then why you need Cannahub? What we really found in working with the cannabis folks is that spreadsheets, like many businesses, are what drives what we do. There's so many spreadsheets in the world, and everybody has their own spreadsheet. And whether it's Joe's spreadsheet or Mary's spreadsheet, you don't want to be the guy that has that spreadsheet and then that person leaves your organization, or you don't know how to run the spreadsheet, or it's not being run in real time. For us, we see an overdependence in spreadsheets. They're 100% manual. They're inefficient. It's a rear view of what has happened, not what's going to happen or what's possible. And then from a transparency standpoint, it is, your software is siloed, so you're not seeing what the other departments are doing or what the other processes are doing. You just don't get a holistic view of your organization. And for Cannahub, that's exactly what we want to do. We want to be able to give you that holistic view. So we connect your data so that you can focus on what you do best, which is your business and your operations, and we can help make you more efficient so you can grow your business. And that kind of gives you just like a flavor of who we serve and what we do and who we are. But now I'd like to hand it over to John, and John's gonna give you a little insight into what his experience has been so far in this space. John?
Hi, hi everybody. I'm John Moss, the VP of Customer Success, and I sit in on a lot of demos and help with a lot of demos. And whenever we're on talking to a new prospect, I always ask, I say, hey, are you or someone in your team exporting data into spreadsheets? And as Lynn touched on, the answer is overwhelmingly yes. And then again, I said, well, how much time are you spending? And I had a gentleman last week that we talked to. He said, I spend 10 hours a week putting together spreadsheets and information for my weekly reports, and then I do it again next week. And it's difficult. It's very manual. There's opportunity for data dispense, issues and problems with just making sure you're getting the same consistent data week in and week out. So, and I said it's kind of interesting in the 30 plus years that we've been doing this, things have really changed, and cloud computing has given us a great opportunity to pick kind of a best of breed. You can have an ERP system that's different from your operations. It's different, obviously, from your point of sale, maybe a HRMS, and you have all these great, applications, but they all hold data that you use to make decisions in your day-to-day business. And none of that information is given to you in one place. So what we realized quite a few years ago was, hey, how about we pull that information into a data warehouse and then give you the ability to access that data. So we begin to do that. And as I mentioned, there's a lot of different applications out there. You have your CRMs, your point of sales, your ERPs, your compliance, especially in the cannabis industry. So, all that information is vital to your business, but yet it's siloed. So what we did is we built connectors, and we built a lot of different connectors to a lot of different softwares. And then we pull that information in, we transform it, and then we put it into our data warehouse. Now, some of those areas, as I mentioned, compliance, like a BioTrack or a metric, if you're in one of those states, your accounting system, whether you're using QuickBooks or something else, cultivation, and all the way down to POS. And all those systems give reporting, but a lot of that reporting is very vanilla. It's usually I sat on a demo last week. It was for Square, and Square said, "Oh, you can export that to Excel, and then you can manipulate your data. You can export that to Excel, and you can manipulate your data." Well, it kind of gets back to the root of the problem, right? Is I want to be able to pull the same data how I want to see it, day in, day out. And our application, Cannahub, allows you to do that. And it allows you to do it in a way maybe different than what the accounting person was doing, or maybe the person at the sales side of things for the POS. So we give you a lot of flexibility and a lot of data from different resources into one place.
Thanks, John. I'm a marketing guy myself, so I prefer visuals. So for those that do as well, it's just a kind of sampling of some examples of companies that we connect to in the space. But down to the point of why we're here, these are going to be a few screenshots of what the actual software looks like within our portal. What we're seeing here just out the gate is the vendor sales report that we built. It's really amazing. Everything in here is, everything colorful is dynamic and clickable, and it gives you a visual sense, as I mentioned, of what the data can look like, and allows you to, to see it in different ways. The next up we have here is a product sales screenshot of one of our reports that is kind of very similar, but showing the product sales of this. And the last up would be our vendor, bear with me, our inventory by vendor. John's going to get into a lot of the functionality of our offering, specifically about what our sidebar and connecting multiple software points can do, and how these reports work together, and the dynamic nature of them, and how you can send them out to different people in your organization. So with that, John, please take control and demo away. Oh, bear with me, John. I've got to make you a. Co-host. There we go. Okay, excellent.
All right. Are you able to see my screen, Josh?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So you see the Cannahub?
Yep.
All right, great. All right, sorry about that. So anyways, this is our main page. You'd simply be able to come to cannahub.io, and in the top right-hand corner, there's a login button. What we've built this on is we built it on SSO, which is a single sign-on. So it just uses my Microsoft, or if you're using Google as your authentication method, it just uses that and logs me straight in. So you don't have to mess with specific passwords and remembering passwords and that kind of thing. It just uses the one that your company has already taken advantage of. Now, as you see, it comes right into this portal. Now, what I've got here is along the left-hand side, we have a lot of different reports, or I should say connections. So I mentioned earlier about metrics. So there's my compliance, if ERP, Dutchie is your POS. If I have one or all of these connectors, that would dictate what I would see over here. So if I only have Dutchie, I'm only going to see Dutchie. If I have, an ERP, then I'd only see that, or metrics, I'd only see that. When we set up each of the users, or when you set up those users, you can dictate what they see. So if you don't want them to see certain reports, you can control that by the category or the user setup. It's a user-based permissions. So what I also have here is favorites. So these are reports that I like to see that I go in and check out. So I can immediately use this as a way to get in and see my reports, the specific reports that are important to me. Or I can come in, and if I want to look at some Dutchie reports, I can simply come in and click on, we'll look at the customers here, and it's going to bring up that view and show me customer data that is completely adjustable, configurable, however I want to deal with it. So we have our sliders up here. So, I can look at last year, last month, last week. I can look at, next week or this week. The slider is kind of cool because as I move it, you can see the date change up there. And then once it changes, you can see the data below change. So the data adjusts down here. If I want to look at, so in other words, this is showing us customer demographics. So if I want to say, hey, who are my female shoppers? I click on that. It shows that it also filters every other view in the dashboard. If I don't like this donut chart here, it comes with Power BI. So this is just things that I can do out of the box. I come over here, I click on this personalization or visualization, and I can come over here and change this donut to a pie chart. It simply changes it. There you go, it's done. I changed this slider, so I'm only seeing about the last 2 weeks worth of information. So now maybe this is what I want to see going forward. I can come up here to the top where this bookmark selection is. I can select bookmarks. I can say, hey, I want to save this, and I'm going to save it as my customer. I think I already got one of those. Customer demographics. I can set this as my default if I'd like. And then I can also save this for all other users so they'd see the same bookmark with the selected filtered down criteria. And then I can simply hit accept. So now what it's going to do now is it's going to save that as my default. So whenever I would come into this customer selection here underneath Dutchie, it would bring this up automatically. There's also other things you can do. You can come up here if I wanted to say, I only want to filter by, a certain age group. I can pick 30s. I can actually hold the shift or the control key down and pick multiples if I only want to see multiples. Again, I can save that, and this would be the one that it would default to when it came up as soon as I walk into the or log into the Dutchie customer dashboard. As you saw in there, so I'm going to go back into my my bookmark. You can also accept and send. So what I could do is I could click on this accept and send. I can send this email, this information via email subject, and you can either do an attachment or you can do an embedded report in the message. In the sense of to save some time, I kind of did this ahead of time. So what would happen is then when it comes up, you'll see over here, this is a screenshot, or I should say a preview of the same report embedded inside of the email. You can also send it via PDF, and then it would just send a PDF along with it, and then you get that same information. One other thing that you might have saw in there is alerts. So if I'm in here, I can actually set this up in a way to create alerts. So that same email can get sent, or the same data dashboard can get sent at specific times of the day to specific people. One of our cannabis companies has 13 facilities, 13 dispensaries, I should say. They're a seed to sale. and they want the end of day report to go out from their point of sale from Dutchie to all of their general managers of each of those sites, as well as the VP of operations, just so that they can have a look at that on a daily basis. So every night at 9 o'clock, this email goes out and it shares that information, the same information, with everybody without having to do anything. It happens automatically.
Hey, John, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When you share those reports, can they go out to people outside of your organization?
Yes, you can. I mean, as long as you select, you have to obviously put the email in there so that you can determine where they're going, because you wouldn't want those to go to somebody by accident. But yes, you can send them to companies outside of your own company.
Thank you.
All right. So one of the other things, I'm going to pull up a different report here, is our inventory report. So you can see here what we have down below of this product sales is I've got this is our consumer ID or our license, and then we've got sales by day. So I can look at this and see what we've sold by day, and I can also see what consumer ID or what item codes or products were sold that day. And you can look at all the information tied to that. Well, maybe that's not what you want. Maybe you say, I don't care about what day, I want to know more by product. You can say, well, I want to change this. So as long as I've clicked on this visualization down here, I can click on this little button. It says personalize the visual. And I can simply go up here to product and say, I'm going to put the product in front of that. Give it a second. You can see it spinning here. It reorganized it. So now I'm looking at all the product sales that I have for any given day. And if I see a field in here I don't want, like maybe I don't care about the average gross margin, I can come over here, click remove field. It removes it immediately. I can also add fields if I want to add a field. And then as soon as I hit the X here, I'm back in. I can come over here and expand that information down below. And when that expands out, it's going to show by date what those sales are. So I kind of see it in reverse order of what it was initially. And if I'm happy with this, I can simply come up here, click on this, and make it the bookmark. I can come up and hit a save as, create it as a bookmark, save it as a default if I'd like, but have that information is now tied to my user. If another user preferred it the other way, when they log in, they would continue to see it in the original state. One last thing I was going to talk about is when I showed you when I first logged in here, you saw my dashboard. There's a nice, cool thing that you can come in and it's called pinning it to the dashboard. Say when I log into the system, the first thing I want to see, and this probably may work for like say a CEO or a COO, they may want to see some specific information as soon as they log in. I can click this dashboard button. Now what that did is it pinned it to the main dashboard. So when I go and hit home and log in, this visualization, or this, I should say, dashboard, will show up immediately upon logging into the system. So the next time I would log in, this is what I see immediately. So I don't have to dig in and hit one of these, sub menus to go and find it. This is what I would see. If I still have favorite reports that I like, I come up here and I hit this little hamburger in the top right-hand corner, and it opens it back up and allows me to pick any of these favorite reports that I have, so I can get to them very easily and very quickly. One thing I didn't show, but in the same token, when I'm in that other screen, I can actually hide. I can hide some reports, and those hidden reports will be showed here on the right. So with that, I think that covers everything. I'll hand it back over to Josh.
Thank you, John. That was an amazing little look into our product offering. Very cool stuff. Just to give you how this applies to the real world scenario setup, we've pulled together a couple examples of what how this would apply. So the key takeaway here right at the bottom is that it's multiple data sources being pulled into one report. So John was showing you each of these individual reports that we have within our Dutch POS, but most of us, most of the operators we work for, have 3 to 5 software pieces that they're leveraging. So having them under one portal can be very helpful when you, let's say, are a processor or cultivator. You are using your AR versus open orders from e-commerce. You'd be pulling data from your accounting software, your operations software, and your e-commerce software. The example of that would be flagging delinquent accounts prior to shipping a product, not wanting to ship out to customers, maybe late on their payments. Dispensary levels can be leveraging POS systems, HR software, and third-party applications. In this case, it would have been a weather application to track, historical data and how it applies to the scheduling of people in the dispensary, or the sales stats and things like that. So it's really an excellent way to pull data together into one place with reports that we can build up. Another real-world example of this would be a dispensary that we've offered our solution to, which has had great success in increasing their efficiencies and pulling the data and making these data-driven decisions in a much more real-time basis as we sync their data out to our system. And this will be clickable and available in the PowerPoint deck once we send this out as a follow-up. But with that, I really want to start into some of the Q&A because I know that we're coming up on time here shortly. So are there any questions that we might have from our panelists, or you want to type into the chat or just reach out for?
Josh, maybe do you want to open up the video for the Q&A?
Whatever you want. You want to show off? Go for it. I love it. All right. Anyone have any questions? Comments, concerns? Happy to hear them.
Yeah, and I guess I would also say if anybody does have any questions and they don't want to speak in this format, then please feel free to email those out to us. As Josh said, he'll be following up and sending the deck out. And there is information in the deck. The link to the success story is in there, but we're happy to field your questions at any given time.
Says chat disabled. Uh-oh. Let's see. Hold on one second.
So I do see there is a question. It says, how difficult is it to implement? John, do you want to go ahead and answer that? And before John does, one thing I will say is that, part of the impetus for us building what we built was we wanted to build something that didn't require IT. We wanted a tool that was usable by the users and personalizable by the users without having to have IT interaction. So it should be easy. But John, I'll let you go ahead and elaborate on that.
Sure, Bill. What I guess it depends on what application you'd be looking at connecting with. If you can shoot a note and say if it's metric or if it's a Dutchie or if it's something other than that.
Yeah, just as
if
a
it's
side
one
note,
of the
it looks like the
yeah, if
chat
it's
might
one.
be disabled. So you guys are welcome. I unmuted you, so any of the panelists that need to ask a question, feel free to just unmute yourself and talk.
Okay, so if it's metric, it's actually very simple. We just need the keys. If you give us our metric keys, your metric keys, then we will set up a sync, and then we sync the data over. One thing I didn't talk into too much is it's how often you'd want to build that sync, how often you'd want it to occur, I guess the frequency. But really, we could get you set up almost in a couple of days, because if not overnight. It really takes the first sync obviously takes the longest. But we get the keys from you, we get it set up, the data syncs, and then you have access to the reports, because we have out of the box reporting that you would be able to use immediately.
Thanks, John.
But not long at all. And to Lynn's point, doesn't involve the IT at all. You give us the key. I mean, as long as you get approval to give the keys, you share them with us, we get it set up, and you're off and you're running. And that's the beauty of cloud computing, right? Is the APIs and being able to have connected computing.